Hi, everybody. This is David P. France coming to you from Basel, Switzerland. Before we get the interview started, I'd like everyone out there who is watching to like our videos, subscribe to our YouTube and BitChute channel. Also, share the videos with your friends and family. Let your friends and family know what we are up to. This is David P. France TV, where we put the spotlight on creators and creative people. That includes artists, inventors, thought leaders, small business owners, entrepreneurs, and the like. Today, or tonight, actually, I'm speaking to Luca Occelli, a longtime friend and supporter of the channel for a variety of reasons we'll get to. And Luca is coming from his country, Italy. He's based in Italy. He'll go into exactly where he is. He's between the UK and Italy mostly. And yeah, Luca, thank you for joining me tonight. We haven't spoken in a while, so I wanted to reach out to catch up with you to see what you've been up to. It's been a while, right?
Yes, thank you, David, for having me here, and hello, everyone. Yes, it has been a while, actually, and yeah, I'm in Italy now. I've been in Italy. I'm in a small village between the western coast of Italy and Turin. It's a very small village in the wine region. Pretty beautiful. And I've been here since last October. Yeah. Well, the first lockdown, I did it in London, and now in Italy.
And it looks like you have a little bit of sun. I mean, has it been warm, or is it warm there, or what's going on?
Yes, it's been very sunny. Today was sunny, but it was cool. But yes, when the sun is out, it's already wonderful.
It's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. You know, I've been in my apartment here in Switzerland, mainly. And we were talking before we started the interview that, yes, I've been working mainly from home. So yes. I tell people, I feel like it's been the longest sleepaway camp ever, right? In reverse, right? It's like, it has that feeling, right? It has that feeling, right?
Yeah. It gets cozy though, doesn't it, in a way?
You're in your pajamas, or, you're in casual clothes, you're just laying around, if you're not working on the computer. Then I go from computer to bed, right? It's not, you go out and walk around. There's some people with masks, some people not with masks. Anyway, but it's nice to see you. We now are up to about our 66th interview. 67th
wow, congratulations.
Interview. Yes. We've done, you would be our 68th, but what I'm starting to do is actually get the clips of the longer videos and starting to put them in smaller bits for people to be able to.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah. Yes. So the idea is that we first introduce all of the people that I've been interacting with. Some I haven't, but I've had been watching from afar, and I've been inviting them on, and then going through the interviews again, and then going through and take the snippets.
I think that's a good idea. Some people actually, I know people that they wouldn't watch a video if it's more than like 4, 5, or 6 minutes.
Sure.
For example, I mean that's very short, but yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think for people that have a attention deficit disorder, and that's most of us. But look, if I meet somebody, if I see someone on a long form video, I will watch the entire thing. If they start to talk about a particular topic and they know it very well, so that's my, that's my point. I'm bringing you guys on. You guys know specific things that very well that a lot of people don't normally, and what's happening, and I'll say this and I'll start going into it with you, but a lot of what I'm seeing is a lot of narcissistic videos, things around narcissism. Right, that seems to be a trend popping up, at least in my feed.
Oh, really? But you mean people talking about narcissistic people or narcissism and stuff?
Look, I could give you a whole laundry list of people talking about narcissism, even people who are actual narcissists. There's a guy, very, very seemingly intelligent professor who has a whole YouTube series on being a narcissist. because he says, I am one. And I'm going to tell you what it's like to be me.
Fantastic. But funny you say that. Normally people actually, when they, and especially if people are angry with somebody else, and when they judge them, they're actually telling you very much about themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's normally what we project out, what we are actually.
But this is the thing. Now that we're on the topic, when you're talking about narcissism, what they're saying, all of the different people that are on YouTube, is that this comes out of a broken family, generally happens at childhood, the way that the parents are raising the child. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out whether, is it the chicken or the egg kind of thing? Like, are there born narcissists, or do you have to come up in an environment, right, which, you know, exposes you to narcissism and then you become one?
Yes, good question. I think it's a bit of both, really. I think the temperament, so to speak, the inner temperament, the inner disposition of the person has got something to do with it. But then definitely the environment, the family environment where is raised, that also has an influence in it. But a dose of healthy narcissism, we all have it. You know,
and how do you say how is that? How would we have? Are you talking about ego, or you're specifically talking about when you say healthy narcissism?
But healthy narcissism, in the sense that to know, to honor what the self wants, what somebody wants. You know, it's normal and it's natural. And for example, all kids go through a stage where they feel they're the center of the universe and it's only them and nobody else that matters. But then, you know, as you grow older, you realize that actually it's not all about you. But you see, I personally think it's dangerous in a way to categorize people, saying, oh, he or she is a narcissist and this and that and the other. Of course, they may be, and definitely there's people that they have some continuous stable traits, and you could say, okay, they are towards the narcissistic spectrum. Although people vary so much in their life, and also, for example, there's some people that they could have, I regarded, for example, very, very depressed people. In a way, they could be from the other spectrum, but it could also be a sort of masked narcissism. I don't know if I'm explaining well. It's just like you know, you could be dysfunctional. We could be dysfunctional in many different ways, and you know, it could be obvious that you are an overt narcissistic person, like you know, it's obvious, but you could also be a narcissist, which is covered, like, you know, the dynamic would be so different, and people would never label you, so to speak, as a narcissist, but you are. I don't know. Do you see what I mean? I'm not one for labeling. Sorry.
You're not, but when you talk about, let's say, for example, what you are projecting, right? What the example that you gave, when you call someone a narcissist, you really are.
Yeah, absolutely. You can only see.
Explain that, because let me tell you that someone, particularly someone I was trying to get on this platform, she specializes everything narcissism, right? Everything. She's like, I got to send you links to the video, to the point where she actually took her videos off of YouTube because, let me give you a short what happened. There's he's not a new YouTuber, but he's a very influential YouTuber in a very short period of time, who has grown his channel I think 500,000, maybe 400,000 subscribers. Wow. Where he's talking about relationships between men and women. You know, that's always right?
Yeah.
And he's telling women that they have unrealistic expectations. That's the basis. So this particular person who had been trying to get on this platform went berserk because I guess he triggered her experiences with men. So she literally has called this guy a narcissist. Yeah, before, you know what I mean? Like, because he's so successful and all the women are flocking to him for the advice, right? So in that same sort of space, there's another guy who recently got called out for his behavior because he was giving advice to women, mostly women, some men as well, about relationships, but it turns out he was cheating on his wife. And so he manages to get his wife to come on the YouTube. It's almost like becoming like a Jerry Springer TV, right? But I mean, he gets his wife, he doesn't appeal to his fan base because he built up this fan base, you know, also huge numbers. And he got the wife to, I guess, give not an apology, but sort of like, you know, kind of standing by her man kind of thing. And that also triggered this particular person that I was trying to get on, to the point where she was making videos like every day, dogging these men out, right? So it became a narrative, and you know, I'm like trying to book her, and it becomes, you know, a big thing. So I mean, I'm bringing this up for, you know, to our point. I thought it was interesting that she became so aggressive. She's always aggressive, right? From New York, but to the point where she took her videos down. Yeah, you know, and then she was berating these men, even though they may be guilty, right? But to your point, she's employing the same kind of traits that she is talking about so badly, right?
Probably. Well, when something triggers us, it's because the exact same energy, quality, trait, or whatever it is, it's in us. We may not admit it or acknowledge it, and that's most likely often the case. But if we get triggered by it, it's because it's in us. We don't own it. We may not even be aware of being it, or maybe we actually, most of the time, we would deny it, but we have it. You see, otherwise it wouldn't trigger us.
But if we have it, does that mean that we don't hold other people accountable for this kind of behavior? Or do we say, oh, it's in me, also therefore I have to forgive this person, or not really give it the level of energy that I'm giving it? I mean, what is the...
Well, the reality is that we have all characterial traits, personality traits. We all have them, all of them. In other words, we are all capable of being generous, being nasty, being narcissistic, being giving, being forgiving, peaceful, compassionate, whatever it is, okay? We all have these traits. We all are able to express those qualities. But because we, of course, some of them, we judge them as being negative, we don't own them. Maybe we don't actually, maybe we don't experience them because we don't act them out, but they are in us. And whatever, it's part of our evolution. Whatever we are not allowing ourselves to acknowledge that we are, or to experience, it's a law, it's a universal law, we project it out. To give an example, if you are madly attracted by somebody, ask yourself, what is that quality that person has that had you to lose your head? And most probably, it maybe is their outgoingness or their generosity or whatever it is. It is a quality that you have, but you don't own, you don't think you have, or you don't express it. Does it make sense? And that's why you are head over heels with that person with that quality, because you don't own that quality yet. And the same principle is for people that they get on our nerves, that we can't stand. If somebody that isn't actually had a go at us directly, but we don't like their mannerism because we think, oh, she or he's bossy or he's stingy or whatever it is. We have the same characteristic, but we deny it. We don't think we have it, and we project it out. You see, the penny drops when we realize that, oh, I am actually, and that's what it takes to realize, oh, I can be like that. I have been like that.
Yeah.
I maybe sometimes am like that, or it's okay for me to allow myself to be like that. Do you see, when we experience that and we acknowledge it, then it loses its power.
Sure.
That
doesn't mean you continue to put yourself in situations that perpetuate this kind of.
No. No, because normally when you're aware of something, that something hasn't got an hold of you anymore.
Mm.
But our ghosts, we are possessed, so to speak, by these traits when we are not aware of them, when we don't see them. Because otherwise, when we start looking at something and recognize it, it loses its grip over us.
Well, we can talk about all kinds of stuff, and we have talked about all kinds of stuff in terms of non-physical, because even though people may see me, some people see me as this person is like, not, how can I put this? I mean, I'm seen as a creative person, right? But there's some people who see me as almost too straight-laced. I'm not the typical creative, that you see being celebrated, in New York, Hollywood, and this kind of thing. Like, you're not going to see me there. But and these, in between these two different types of thinking and worlds, I see myself, or I find myself looking to the non-physical quite often, right? So when you're talking about non-physical, this is a whole nother plane, right? So even when you were just saying what you were saying, like I kind of drifted off into, this is a projection. Is this, coming from me? Is it coming from somewhere else? Is it coming from some other spirit? Is it coming from, do you know what I mean? Like it gets a little bit, it gets a little out of hand for me, right? So I have to bring it back in, because in other words, if it were up to me, I would just be forgiving everyone and all of, bad behavior. I just like in other words, I have to have sort of boundaries in place, because I tend to, let God handle it. Let the universe, that's another one. Let the universe handle it, right? There is something to that, but then there is something to being in the real, quote unquote, real world, interacting in real, what we know as real time. The issue that I'm finding now is that because the world is changing so quickly, what's real and what's not real, and what's physical and non-physical is becoming a little more blurred. For me.
Yes, but what you say is like, what you're talking about, which is let the universe handle it. I personally see it as something being very real. That's the truth of it. That's the reality of it. In other words, if something happens, it's got a good reason for happening, otherwise it wouldn't be happening. So who am I to argue that shouldn't happen? That's my ego. That's my little viewpoint of life. That's my perspective. Does it make sense? So but then there's nothing wrong with it, with going and changing and pushing and pulling and say, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. That's fine. Although let's say a totally mystic view of life is just like you say, the mystic who is totally aware of the perfection and the unity, the oneness of the universe, but just not everything is perfect, and you know that there's nothing to do, because what we humanly perceive as being negative is just it's an hypnotic thoughts that we have. It's the belief in right and wrong, good and bad, but everything ultimately it's good, it's perfect as it is.
I mean, and when you continue on this line of thought, I'll be even more specific.
Yes.
I started sort of kind of doing not manifestations, affirmations for manifestation.
Yeah.
Affirmations, but I haven't said them out loud. I really just have been watching videos and affirmations. That's about it. And what I'm thinking is that I at least focused on something, and then I get a telephone call or a text that basically is about to turn my life, not necessarily upside down, but another round of turmoil. And I said to myself, should I just allow this to happen? Yeah. Or should I be pushing back on this? Right. So this has been my this for the last 2 days. I'm thinking, should I allow the universe to work it? Or should I literally try to, fight against this as I would have earlier in my, and what's wrong with fighting back, even if you think that there's some higher force out there that's trying to move something in a different direction. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think I understand, but not sure. But I personally would say there's no should or shouldn't, there's no right or wrong. If you felt like resisting it, for you it's perfect now to resist it. If you feel like going totally with the flow and say, okay, I'm saying yes to all this, it's perfect for you to say yes to all this. Does it make sense? I mean,
yeah, but if you have this sort of attitude, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. If you have this sort of laissez-faire, way of thinking, would anything get accomplished? You understand what I mean? Like, for example, you put in a lot of work and effort to become who you are today, and there were markers, right, in your life that you had to make a distinct effort, you know what I mean, to turn things around. And it wasn't necessarily as easy as let the universe let it happen to me, right? You made an effort. So I guess my question is, what's when someone is triggered, right? Where's the balance between blaming somebody else for someone's behavior and taking it on as your own because, hey, look, it's in me as well, right? Or when something negative happens and all of a sudden, your fortunes turn, right? You say, hey, let the universe let it be. Or do you actually say, hey, wait a minute, this is what should happen, and I'm going to fight against this, right? Do you understand what I mean? So there's this sort of principle of back and forth that I see that isn't necessarily coming through when we have a conversation about, okay, it just happens and it's okay. It's in that person, it's in that other person, it's in me.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. The way I function nowadays, I would, if I am in a situation which I don't like, I will do whatever I can. I would act in doing whatever I can to have the situation like I would like it to go. Mm-hmm. Okay, but but for me, what is important, it's not the fact that I may be doing something, which I personally would do something or not, is the energy behind, the consciousness, or either am I doing what I'm doing with a serene, maybe even firm, but serene or excited energy, or am I doing what I'm doing because I'm fearful or I am angry? Does it make sense?
Yes.
For me, when we talk about like you were saying, something happens and you don't like it. Okay, in the past, I used to get really angry, really frustrated, and I would blame the situation or others. Nowadays, most of the time that doesn't happen. But if for whatever reason I lose my cool and I get angry, and it happens, when I notice that, then I tell myself, okay, because I know I'm doing it to myself. I always tell myself, what am I doing to upset myself? You see, because it's never easier said than done, of course, but it's never what happens to me that triggers me. It's what I tell myself about what is happening. Like it's what I tell myself about what you have been doing or not doing that creates the anger in me. Of course, if we, for example, if you told me that you would have done something and you haven't done it, and I need that something, of course, I would instantly, because I would get frustrated, I would maybe get angry. But while before, years ago, I would keep being angry, and maybe I would ruin the relationship with you. Now I may get angry. Then I would then realize though that I am fueling my anger. So I would do whatever I can to transform the energy into repristinate balance. So of course I would tell you whatever I need to tell you, or whatever I would do, whatever it needs to be done. Does it make sense? You're not talking to somebody that I don't do anything. I just let things happen. No. Does it make sense?
I'm just saying.
No.
Yeah. It's like you're basically saying take a reasonable approach with it, right? Yeah, that's what I.
Yes, probably. But if you ask me, what do you think about how somebody else is behaving or doing, or what they should be doing? I think that it's everything. It is perfect. Do you know what I mean? If somebody gets angry or gets mad, or is at peace with something happening, in that moment in time, for whatever reason, that's
the way it's supposed to go.
Yes, exactly. But when it comes to me, I would definitely acknowledge how I'm feeling. But then, of course, I would work, and what I would always work towards is my inner state of peace. To me, my almost constant focal point in my life is my own inner tranquility and serenity. Easier said than done, absolutely. When you're dealing with life, when you're dealing with people, it's always, you have to have a very flexible mind, be non-judgmental, and do you see what I mean? It's not always easy, but it's
I want to talk about two things quickly with you, and maybe we won't have enough time to go into each of them, but I was thinking about this. When you said you want to live a life that is what? You said peaceful, right?
Peaceful, yes. For, however I can, I would like, regardless to what happens to me, to be, it's not always easy, but yeah.
Well, what I'm seeing a lot, at least the videos that are popping up in my feed on YouTube, they have to do with narcissism, which we discussed, but also relationships, right? And how people enter relationships and expectations. And it's to the point now where I feel that my situation is so not traditional that what I'm hearing from these life coaches and people talking about relationships and how I feel like I am not even in that space anymore. But let's say, for example, there seems to be in relationships this idea, or let's say not idea, it seems to be when you enter a relationship with someone, you're not going to be in a totally peaceful place. Do you understand what I'm saying? The whole idea of a relationship is this sort of rocky boat, right? So what is it about taking everything that you just said about wanting to be in a peaceful place and how to negotiate with relationships? How does one do that, right? When, ideally, it is about trying to find peace, right, within yourself. So when you enter, in other words, when you enter a relationship with someone else, you've already given up some of your peace. This is what I'm feeling, based on what I've experienced, what I'm seeing in, these videos and people's experience being projected out and, through YouTube now. It's not like it's very easy for people.
No, it's not very easy for people, but also I think it's important to understand why someone, and to know why somebody's getting into a relationship. Because if somebody's getting into a relationship to get something that he or she feels is missing in his or her life, well, the relationship definitely is not starting on a good note. Does it make sense? Because nobody is ever gonna give you something that you don't already have in yourself and you don't see it in yourself. They may show you, but it's the work is, and a relationship can be really healing and productive for people. Although one has to be open to it. I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
You have to be open to being productive, or you have to be open to being...
You have to be open of seeing what the other person sees in you that you may have not originally seeing in yourself.
Yeah, you do have to be open.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
most people are not.
Nobody can. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Most people aren't getting into relationships in that way.
No,
you know, they don't
exactly.
see it. They don't see it as this sort of uplifting, even though that's the ideal, right? We want to be uplifted, but I think people do not see a relation. Generally, people are, you know, moving into a space that's sort of laid out for them and saying, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, it's because what is expected of me. There's a pressure, right? There's a pressure there.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Exactly.
So it colors, you know, your description of how it could be. Well, that's sometimes not even, most of the time, isn't even in the equation for people. They have to come to some, you know, after a lot of growth and development, come to that space, right? And that's why I like talking to you, because I mean, you're in that space for sure. I'm there, you know, intermittently. I try to, you know, move into the space and stay a bit, and then I sort of get kicked out. You know, I don't.
But that's where we will all go through it. That's the, if there is the meaning of life or whatever life, I don't think life has any meaning at all. But it's a journey of self-discovery. So it will come a point sooner or later where somebody is faced with himself or herself and say, so who I am, what do I truly want for my life or not? And nobody else can give you that. Nobody else can give you that. And if people get into a relationship hoping that somebody else is giving those answers, I don't think they're going to get them. Or some people, they go into relationship because they're lonely. They want to fill a gap. Then again, you know, the relationship is not really started on a solid ground. And yeah, I mean,
look, I mean, it gets to the point where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I mean, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? But clearly, I'm off the path, right? I am not in a traditional.
But what is the path? Is there one path? No.
No,
who's saying the one path?
But what are you talking about? The one that you know, that you grew up with, and what I literally have thrown that out of the window. And I guess coming to some realization that I've thrown it out of the window is sort of what's making me laugh. You know, I'd be like, okay, jeez, you are totally not. I mean, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, right? This is where I started and where I am now is
different. A tiny bit different, I guess.
It makes me laugh. Okay, sorry. And then the last thing we wanted to, you know, touch on is because of what's happening now with the pandemic, it seems to be different countries that are sort of unlocking. But it brought me, or made me think about resilience. And I think we may have spoken about this before. And there's now big celebration in UK. Oh, it's, you know, pandemic is over. And I'm thinking, how'd you guys go from lockdown to all of a sudden you're out in the streets partying? I don't understand. I mean, I get it, but it seems as if the message from the government is actually like, okay, now it's over, right? And it's a little bit, it's a little weird to me. But, you know, it made me think about being resilient. And I wanted to bring that up again. I believe we spoke about it before. What are your thoughts on resilience in this particular time that we're living in? How does how have you seen it play out in your own life, and then maybe some other people's lives that
Yes. I see that resilience, when I think about resilience, I think of the ability to endure a challenging situation, to be maybe not unfazed, but to be strong and to keep going regardless of whatever is happening. And I think, yes, that many people have been put to the test, definitely, because either you are strong in yourself, or in your belief, or you know that you have faith, and you believe that things are truly going to get better one day. You see, for example, I personally saw, economically in London, I saw things to be very different personally, financially, and of course you think, okay, this is the situation, and hopefully it will change. And I have been tasted in the field of being resilient, because, for example, years ago, I would have freaked out. I would have really got angry and upset. But now I'm thinking, hey, this is the situation. The more I stress about whatever is going on, the more I would actually probably resonate with something even more disastrous, so to speak. So what can I do? I can just be centered, be serene, and approach everything with a positive attitude, regardless to what is happening. I think that is what resilience at its best, at its highest, is to be able to remain calm, at least, or maybe even positive and excited when everything around you is actually, going in a way that everybody is saying, oh my gosh, it's a tragedy.
Well,
you see, because we are co-creating our own reality.
Well, yes, and I have to be reminded of this. I'm going to send you links to all of these different videos.
Yeah, I'm curious now.
and it makes me, when I talk to you, it made me realize, I said, I got to talk to Luca again. I have to talk to him. I think your perspective is very, very different, at least. Well, also because I know you and I spent a lot of time with you, right? There was a time where, I met Luca at one of his workshops, and I immediately understood what he was doing. So I think I did sort of like, they would call it like a speed dating. It wasn't, we weren't dating, but it was like, I had to crush and get as much information from this guy as quickly as possible, right? And one of the things that I got out of it is this whole idea of being, when you say there's no meaning, and, you have to be, it's almost like this sort of detachment. Or even when we talked about, oh yeah, when you get angry at someone, you're really projecting what they're projecting at you, or what you're getting annoyed about, you're actually projecting as well. You have the ability to project. It removes this kind of thinking, removes the negative energy, or the focus on negative aspects of what is happening, right? That's what I
personally
sense,
don't.
Right?
Yes, because I don't believe in negativity. Yeah. Negativity is a concept. Nothing is negative. At least I was thinking, ooh, that he or she or that is negative. There's no such a thing of negative energy. Energy is energy. People are people. Right.
So you don't believe in positive energy or negative energy?
No, I believe in what you could say, but even that is questionable. I could say, yeah, positive intention or negative intention. Like I could do something with a negative intention, meaning I could to harm something or somebody. Mm-hmm. Although, if we truly, the question is, how far do we want to go, or how superficial do we want to stay? I give you an example. Somebody that we could label as, judge as being negative, nasty, and is using negative energy. And maybe, yes, it is to some level, because it's harming somebody else.
Yeah.
He or she, if we really go intimate with them, they have their own reason to do that. We may not agree with them, okay? But they're doing it not because they woke up one day and they thought, oh, I don't know what to do today, I'll be nasty. They're actually very troubled. Any living beings, if it's in a state of peace, can only be loving. Nobody's nasty by nature. But then again, I say, this is my perspective, my opinion. I'm not saying this is it.
Yes.
But all I'm saying is that I don't believe anybody's intrinsically nasty. When somebody's aggressive or is what we judge as being nasty, is because they're fearful. But why are they fearful? They're aggressive because they want to protect something or somebody, or maybe an ideal. And of course, we would think you're mad. You kill because of an idea. Well, yeah, he or she is attached to an idea, but isn't the whole blimey planet attached to ideas? Hello. But anyway, and to protect that idea because he or she loves that idea is harming somebody else. But it's an act of love. Everything ultimately is an act of love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, when I'm talking to you, it's clearly we are in a different space, right? And I guarantee you, anybody that's going to be listening to this, you know what I mean? Because I think I need to talk to Luca. And I think it's because you are so not in the space that most people are operating in, right? I mean, when you go to work, when you go and you have a job, a 9 to 5, what we are talking about is not happening at your job generally. But I do think, and I'm going to leave you with this, and I'll ask you what you think about this. I have been utilizing everything that I've learned in the workplace, and I have been doing it with increasing amounts or an increasing levels. And I had to really think about it before we had the conversation. Is that when I started my job, this new job, I mean, it was a nightmare in the beginning, but I think I just maintained who I was no matter what, right? And there is some of this, you know, how do you say, everything that we had conversation about in this moment, these are things that I brought into the workplace.
Right.
I try to, at least, right? So if anybody's got angry, I thought it's either I empathized or I saw that, look, I had been that way, or I understood where that person was coming from, and I was able to diffuse so quickly a situation that could have gotten out of hand, right? But this is sort of what I guess one of the reasons why I'm bringing folks like yourself on, because I know that there is some value in this information, and at least having the discussion around what you're bringing to the table.
Yes.
Right. It can be very helpful in people's lives.
I hope so.
I mean, if it wouldn't, well, you wouldn't be spending all of this time doing this, right? I mean,
absolutely,
it has value, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway,
absolutely.
So anything else
yeah. No, it just made me think again that I am convinced that judgment is the seed of all suffering. It's a psychic attack. The moment we judge something or somebody and we get angry about it, it's like we add fire to the fire. That energy that comes out from us, that we emanate, I don't see how it possibly could generate anything productive. Judgment is against ultimate reality, is against who we are. Judging means comparing, dissecting, putting on another level, putting up or putting down. And that's why nobody likes to be judged negatively, because it's against, it's not an organic, natural way of living. But we are structured a society where judgment is promulgated
every single day. I think for me, and the strategy for me is to kind of, while we're in the structure, move a lot of these ideas into the structure. And I believe because of what's happening now and sort of the breakdown or shift or change, that we, people that are in this space, have an opportunity to actually do this work. Whereas before, when I met you, you know, I still had a lot of anxiety. What am I going to do? You know, I mean, I wasn't coming to you as serene as I might be projecting myself now. Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was like, hey, I got to connect with this guy because he actually knows. And there was some tension behind why I wanted to make sure that I really understood what you were up to. But now we're in a space where, look, everybody's sort of in a situation. Most people are not in the same situation that they were last year.
Yes.
So that it's allowed me to have more space to be non-judgmental.
Yes.
Right, has allowed me to build my skills in resiliency, if you want to call it. All of these things that we've been talking about are now at the forefront.
Yes.
Right, and now you won't. When you say, you know, what you do, people, I'm sure, are looking at you very differently than when you started a long time ago.
Yes.
Right? Would I say that's correct? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. Yes. Yes. Yeah, but that's the paradox also of the more a situation is challenging, the more it has opportunities in it.
Sure.
Like all the qualities you're talking about, being resilient, being non-judgmental, we're all tasted now of utilizing those qualities, which maybe we wouldn't be tasted if this hadn't happened.
Look,
again, we go into why judging something as good or bad.
I agree with you. You know. I agree with you. Is there anything else you want to add before we close? Anything you want to? You're in Italy now. Are you planning in the future to come back? Are you going to do any kind of webinar, workshop?
I'm doing a web. I'm in Italian. I don't know if I'm doing it in English as well. If I'm doing it, and next Thursday would be something about how to change your emotional state, meaning how you can literally transform your emotional state. If something would upset you, how you can actually shift your state from being angry to being excited or being serene, and how you can choose. We can choose being at ease, at peace, being excited. But most of the people, sometimes they don't use these abilities. Most of the people, they don't even think they can choose the way they feel. So, but we can.
Yeah. I suspect that I will leave you with this. There is more to what you are doing than we've even been able to present in all of the different conversations we've had thus far, including the ones here on, you know, that we've recorded. Every time I have a conversation with you, I come away thinking, oh, somehow in a different way. It's almost like a clearing. Do you understand what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah. It's like sage for your conversational sage. It's like literally clearing out. Yeah. And I think when you say there's no energy, energy's energy, no negative in it, I mean, there's so many ways to define things that, how can I put this? Before there was even man, right? Everything sort of had to be created, right? Everything came from some out there in the ethers or through man, or everything was created. And so I think even the idea of being emotional or angry, that when you really strip it away, right, you could even say that's even a construct, right? I mean, in other words, when you go and you push the limits of what is, you're literally left with nothing. You're literally left with nothing. So in other words, when you think like that constantly, it's like, oh, I can't be angry because it's nothing, right? I mean, it literally takes the energy out of the situation, right?
Absolutely. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, you would be left with nothingness or with a full-on silence.
Right.
But not a silence that is a void, that is where nothing is it. A silence where everything is in it.
Yeah.
But it's silence because it's nothing is materialized in it. It's like you say, where everything came from.
Right. But I think just like when you're, let's say if you're an artist and you're creating and you're always trying to get better, you will never be the best you can be. And likewise, thinking this way of trying to strip away everything, non-judgmental, non-anger, non-this and that, you're never going to get to 100% non-judgmental, right? It's so embedded. But being in that mindset of being able to strip away or being able to change how you see things in an instant, I think is an important tool to have.
Yeah. Right, you said something very, very deep there. It's impossible. We live in a let's call it a dualistic world, and duality is here for a reason, and it's fine and it's perfect as it is. We need good to know what bad is and all this or that. I mean, we can't escape it. I think that the trick is to see it for what it is and not to get too lost in it or stuck in it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. To see a picture, you have to, if you are in the frame, you can't see it all. You have to like step out and you can see the picture. But so meaning we can be in this world, but not of it.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Like,
yeah, of course.
Play with it, play with the system, play with like even the judgment. You could be judging, but knowing that you're judging and the reason really it is a purpose, but it's not real. Or you could literally abstain from judging altogether. But judgment is a fact of life. As you say, people judge, people do this, people do that, and it's...
Yeah, look, we could go on and on, but I do think that the idea of what you're saying is at the basis of how artists and inventors and people who are thinking, whatever, that's how they create, right? That's how things come to existence. And I think when you talk about someone who's a good writer, they utilize all of these different concepts that you talk about, you know, sometimes in writing, right? So you can be angry, but not really be angry, or make fun of anger, or, you know, there are so many different ways to express this idea. And I think that's what artists do. So they provide you with examples of inspiration of how situations could be, right? In the face of adversity, in the face of challenge, in the face of fear, in the face of all of these difficult things. So, you know, I at least wanted to throw that out to you.
Thank you.
You know, and yeah, look, thank you for your time, and
thank you very much.
We'll touch base.
It's always good to speak to you.
Yeah, look, it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
And best wishes to your family, and yeah, we will talk soon. Okay.
Thank you, David, and
ciao.
thank you, everyone.